Alrighty, Kathleen, and then also known as Cheryl. So I am in Colorado, and officially, I want to cry. Uh, had a very bad fallout with Regenexx. Yes, Regenexx, the place that I have always touted because I've been treating with them for past 10, actually 12 years, ever since, yeah, I count my fingers. I'm not really prepared to do this video, but I just want to say goodbye, thank you, and not thank you for whatever happened. I don't know, everything went sort of disorderly after the pandemic, maybe, or after they lost Bridget, per se, was the perfect middle person, I think. I want to thank Dr. Christopher Centino and for his generosity. I suppose that he was sort of long suffering with me. Now I just realized that after he told me abruptly yesterday that he will not treat me anymore, maybe because there was just too much confusion now in the clinic. And I don't have anybody to blame. That's the really impartial come away and suggestion that I have. I want to have a positive outlook and not be negative, because I always have tried to say positive things about Regenexx, which is using your own blood platelet cells, which I've been doing for the past 10, 12 years to help the so-called the hip IA and the cervicals, so-called stenosis. And not to get into the details of all these problems that people generally experience that if you have sports injuries and somebody who's active like me, and so forth. I thought regenerative medicine was in gospel. Maybe it's a gospel, not in gospel, but you get it, instead of surgeries. But howbeit, I understand the price are high. Usually the cost is a lot more than your, conventional surgeries that do a lot of cuts, and, you'll probably never gain back the same mobility as you have before. But I just think that maybe greed get in the way and confusion get in the way, because they're just more trained people in the clinic, or I don't know, maybe perhaps they're prejudiced in a way. I mean, being a patient, also a client, I mean, spending $2,500 for injections is probably, and also traveling to Denver, you got to remember that that's not something that a lot of people can afford to do. But that is really a drop in the bucket. That means that, they're doing you a favor if you want to treat your ligaments for that amount of money. So all I want to do is to tell you, and just be very impartial about this, that it will cost you money. There's no guarantee. It will cost you a lot of money. And, I suppose I'm not rich. And somehow I do feel the discrimination. I'm not a beggar, but I think, if you're spending $2,000 on top of a journey, or $2,500, that's still a lot of money. So if you are expected to have your blood drawn, and usually that's I guess that's a bit of a torture, because I got ordered around by somebody that whom I had a bad experience with in the past, who stick me with a needle, but sort of put into 7 different places, and that bruised and bled. That caused me to say, can we have somebody else to do the simple blood draw? That's all. I don't think I'm a troublemaker. And besides that, I just want to say that I have kept my mouth shut about a lot of problems that I encountered at Regenexx. I mean, this one in particular in Broomfield, and I never talked about it. Okay, so the what do you call, the water flows downhill, and what did I say? Like, shit stinks. I'm sorry, they had this Dr. Hansen, and I suppose that he's not there anymore. But I was afraid. I was afraid of the person. He was supposed to be very good, and he actually treated me with hydro dissection, meaning injecting into the nerves, like in the hand, in the wrist area. But he did not give me any kind of, you see, there was numbness, right? Can you see this hand? And so this is my left hand that's much controversial. So Dr. Henson had actually injected this right there in the wrist without any kind of lidocaine. Okay, and his justification, he actually had some mental issue, a blockage. I mean, seriously, he confessed it to me. He says, "Why do you scream?" The reason I brought it up because Dr. Christopher Santino, sort of gaslighted me in a little bit, or maybe jokingly, I don't know, mockingly, when he left the consultation room yesterday, and then he said, yeah, you'll be screaming and, scare other patients. No, I'm not worried about other patients hearing me screaming. I'm worried about me feeling the damn needle, the 35 gauge, or not 25 gauge, I guess. Hey, I'm not a medical person. 25 gauge, whatever it is, it's like a stabbing pain, and with the injection without any kind of lidocaine. Anyways, that's what Dr. Hansen did a long time ago, which I never complained. The reason why he did it, he said he actually was traumatized when he himself, I don't know, maybe in his lifetime, had to have some kind of brain surgery or something like that, where he said the anesthesia did not knock him out at all. He was wide awake, and then he wanted to scream because he can feel every scalpel. So that is a horror story. He wanted to scream, but he couldn't because he was, I guess, on the operating table. So he said, there is no comparison, not even childbearing. This is what Dr. Hansen said. Okay, that was Regenexx maybe even 8 years ago. I don't know when he left. But, he told me all that while he stabbed me almost, till I was screaming without any, because of no lidocaine or anything. And he sort of mockingly just said that I was chicken shit. So people can be gaslighted. It just, my experience, the negative ones, I oppressed it. Okay, so I'm not going to oppress anymore because Dr. Christopher Santino just told me, look, he hated to bargain with me, while the fact that confusion was brought because the note taker, whoever it was in the room, I don't want to mention their names because you know why, because fear of retaliation. But as soon as the doctor leaves the room, they put it like, they type up like something really don't make any sense. It just, it's like I could do better than that. All right, when I used to have been, okay, this is what we got. Let's just say before everything went to like the shit creek, when Bridget was the assistant for Dr. Christopher Santino. Hey, I'm impartial, okay? I spend a lot of money, so don't think I have evil intent. I don't. I just want to tell you what had happened. And this time, the Regenexx really let me down. And it's all about money. I get it. But regardless, you're making it very difficult for me to choose what should be done, because we want to pull the ligaments like neck and back and hip. And Bridget would say, for example, this is Bridget 2017. I'm saying, where are you, Bridget? You were just so thorough. Thorough is important. Maybe they just still didn't like me then. It doesn't matter. But it says left ligaments, L1, L2, L3, if you can read it, L4, L2 to L3, L3 to L4, L4 to L5. You see, that's all it's all dashed there, meaning L4 to L5, transverse process C, intertransverse ligament to left SI to ischio tuberosity without contrast or the medical terms. Not to bore you, but at least it was spelled out. But now, let me pick up this piece of paper I just dropped. Oh, okay, that's still another one, the old one. If it says 20x SCP, just means 20 times the strength. That's a lot of process of your blood platelets. So SCP, and it says 4 cc on the right and on the left hip, and the 1 XPOM 20 cc. So that's all spelled out for you. And now I was that Dr. Christopher Centino. Anyways, I just feel like it was not justified how he got angry at me because the assistant had me a sheet like 3 times. They want to have me pick what I can afford to do on this so-called menu. So I'm just saying, like, for example, you go to a steakhouse, you order a steak, and they say, okay, you're gonna have salad, you want to have some corn on the cob, or soup or whatever, right? So you can have your pick. My main thing was the steak. For example, this time was the cervicals, but this is all over the place where the lab fee is the lab fee, but it says $1,000 and cervical simple platelet injection. Pardon me. So yeah, don't gaslight me because I lost a tooth here, and probably my pronunciation is not that great, but what I said is very plain and simple: cervical simple platelet injections. And that it really isn't. When I say simple, it means that it's not telling me anything. It just says simple platelet. It's not telling me what ligaments are retreating. Cervicals are C1, C2, C3, C4. It doesn't say that. So you have really, you're confused. And lumbar injection. Okay, that's just all. That's like, hey, this is what for you, the kindergarten version of something that is supposed to be very complex. But the part that you need to know is if you're getting the steak, and is it well done or is it rare? Okay, if you cannot afford like the ligaments 1, 2, 3, for example, then then you have something to choose from. There's nothing to choose from. And she even ignored the hydrodissection. It's not even on there. But it's such a small print, nobody can see it. And it was like all frantic and everything. And so they blame me for it. They say, well, you can afford it. Why don't you just freaking get lost? Anyways, the third one is left hip simple PRP injection and IV sedation. So the IV station also knocked me out. So basically, there are things there were missing, and I kind of try not to, sound like angry or anything. But I should not be fearful when I go to a physician's clinic. When this whole trip probably cost me $5,000. And I know with the price of inflation and everything, and you can say, oh well, that's really not a lot of money, but I don't think that I should be treated as if like a child or a second class citizen. That's really it. I really believe that if the doctor said blah 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 should be this and that, and then we'll see what you can afford, but when he leaves the room, everything just went like it had never happened. Like they just make up shit. Seriously, they just make up shit and they ignore stuff that should be included. So my advice is, if you cannot have Bridget, someone who was excellent, to at least make sense of what are the ligaments. I know there are complex terms, but at least make sense of what are being done. Meaning that if you just, hey, you put it on the menu correctly. It's not even very clear. So when you get your steak and with sour cream, when in fact you want butter, you're kind of screwed, and we don't want to do that with our bodies and the ligaments. So that's my plea, and maybe Dr. Christopher Santino would be pissed off. It really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. I'm not a diva. I always been very humble because I think that I was getting a great service to treat the hip and the lumbar and everything else. And I know money matters. So from my point of view, whatever that I was doing when I first started it, it was always like $999. All I'm saying is now even 2,500 is not enough. And so it's like people telling me like go piss off. Okay, for $2,500, it's just not enough. So I don't know what's enough. It's everything. It's got to be 5 grand or 10 grand or whatever. So that just becomes not affordable. It just becomes that I'm the bad guy. If I even ask a question, say, hey, why I have no needle mark where I should be treated when I was knocked out on the left hand, and I'm just being gaslighted. Say that's not even on the menu, the so-called hydrodissection of the left hand. So I'm kind of pissed about that, and sorry, we're sort of gonna end here on a sour note.